Hey guys, it's Mel, and this is the Millennial by Mel podcast. This episode of the Millennial by Mel podcast is sponsored by Klock Entertainment. I'm here with Jason Klock at Klock Entertainment. Hey, Jason.
What's up?
This podcast is called Success Starting Young. So we're going to talk to Jason a little bit about his business, how he started, and tap into some of his millennial mind here that Flora is always talking about, we don't get. So we're going to answer some questions here. But it's funny because whenever I say clock, a lot of people still say Glock. Do you get that? Does that annoy you?
I get everything. I get the wrong spelling. I get all kinds of stuff, but that's okay.
It's so funny. I'm like, it's okay.
I'm not as luxurious to have a last name such as Miller. It's easy.
It's so easy.
I like the last name Klock. It has a good ring to it, but it throws people off.
I get
Clark.
Klock.
They
have this weird pronunciation. We're like Glock.
Yeah.
It's funny. So really we want to talk about your success starting young. Just give a recap real quick. I think a lot of people know that you've been DJing and entertaining and performing for a long time, but give them a little recap real quick about how you started. And
how I started way back. I think my first DJ job unofficially with some CDs and like a home stereo system would have been 4th grade.
I know, I was young when you...
Yeah, and then I just kind of got addicted. Now then I went a couple years until I did my next job, if you will, which would have been junior high. The DJ had backed out or canceled, and of course, loving music, I was on that dance committee or whatever it was in 7th grade or 8th grade, and I had stepped up to the plate and ended up DJing that Friday night school dance, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I got to play loud music.
Yep.
Girls liked it.
Everyone loved you.
Yeah, and they're like, wow, this is fantastic.
If you weren't popular,
yep.
we didn't go to school together, but if you weren't popular, you were that night.
I was now popular. Wow, look at Jason, spinning tunes. And then I just went from there and just kept going. Once I was in high school, I think, my mom definitely carted me around for some jobs. But then once I got my license, which was early, I got my license sophomore year. I was real aggressive about it. So I got it right away. I was booking jobs the second I could drive.
Nice. And
then making it all happen, which started off with probably a handful, 2 or 3 a month for a couple of years. And then when I was out of high school, I was just taking everything. And I played the drums too and did some live sound stuff. So I really was keeping myself busy almost Thursday through Sunday, every night of the week from 18 years old, 17 years old.
Wow.
Which my mom loved, being
a
Thursday night out till 2 a.m. and then waking up and going to class, which I actually was advanced in the fact that I was able to do what they call a co-op program.
Yeah, and leave school.
Yeah, so I went to school every day for one class.
Oh, wow.
Monday through Friday, and then was doing, somehow this was approved. I was working at a Nextel store in Carlisle, so I would jet from Harrisburg to sell cell phones, and then while I was at the cell phone store, I was growing the DJ business. And then from there, I chopped away at college a little bit, but I was too disciplined on growing a business and making money that I couldn't stay focused in a classroom at the time.
Right.
Since then, I've done a ton of continuing education and programs and things like that to discipline myself to be the best business owner that I can. So I've definitely continued and had my higher education. I just didn't do it in that typical order.
Yeah. I just saw, not to interrupt, but I just saw an article about trade schools and how they're a lot of people need more of the trade industry, and people doing that versus maybe going to college.
That's what I did. I went to tech.
Loans.
I went to a Dauphin County Technical School, which is a tech school.
Mm-hmm.
So if the majority of students that leave that high school platform don't just leave with their academic criteria, but they also leave with typically some form of trade that could be equal or equivalent to an associate's degree or some sort of certification, that can advance them in their field.
Oh yeah, there was just this article.
So by the time you graduate, you could be working full time if that's the path that you choose.
Yeah, definitely. And just the student loan debts that we were just saying is crazy that people are not doing what they went to school for.
Yeah.
And we're going to have another podcast to follow this to talk about that. So you're a great example of
I'll never forget. I had, I was chopping away doing the DJ business. I actually had left that Nextel store shortly after high school graduation. And I had it in my head that, like, I needed to get this college degree and I needed to get this education now at 19 years old, or I'm going to be a failure for the rest of my life.
Well,
that's just what was in my head.
Well,
and
that's in your head from
I looked at this piece of paper that came back from whatever one of those, Sally Mae or whatever those, like, popular loan companies is. I can't remember if that's what it is or not, but it came back. I had applied for it and I saw what they would make in interest. It was all laid out, spelled out. I actually was one of the people who read, like, the fine print. I saw what they were going to make in interest, and I was like, there is no way that college means that much to me, based off of what I knew I was capable of without it at that time. I'm a true believer in continuing education and developing your skill sets to the strongest that you possibly can. But at 19 years old, I knew that I wasn't going to pay somebody back interest to teach me a 13th grade of reading books and doing book reports when I could be learning how to talk to people or learning how to have development skills that's actually going to advance me in life, which is what I did. Instead of going to college, I went into outside sales and account management. And at 21 years old, I was wearing a 3-piece suit, actually not shaving because I wanted to look older. I wanted to be taken more seriously. Yeah, 100%. And I was doing that, but while all growing the DJ business as well. 24 years old, I cut all other income. I had cut everything out except for DJing. And that's kind of, it's been from there, and I'm so glad I pulled the trigger early on, as scary as it was, because doing that in my 30s with kids and health benefits and obligations and things like that, everything just continues to build as you get older. So the earlier you can cut that cord, for anybody listening that might be considering wanting to work for themselves or follow a passion, the sooner you can cut that cord, the better.
And I think the financial security
is
a huge thing as far as doing that.
There were definitely steps, which could be a whole other podcast of the educational things that I was self-aware of that I built to get to that point. I didn't just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to do this full time.
Well, I definitely
I definitely had a plan. I definitely had a cushion. I definitely had a savings account that I had developed. I was really good with numbers and accounting to get myself to that point to know, hey, I got at least a year in the bank, I'm gonna, so if I suck, like, I can at least survive for a year and figure it out, which I didn't. I ended up using that year to get me even further. So.
Well, and it's funny because some of the stuff I knew and some of it I didn't, but it definitely makes sense of how you got here where you are now today because of that path that you took and the planning and all that. So we were talking earlier a little bit about, obviously it's the Millennial by Mel podcast, and
we haven't yelled yet though this morning.
We haven't yet. I did this morning at the dog, but yeah, you have a lot of millennials that work for you. You're around so many people, obviously in weddings and events. So what's your take a little bit on this? Millennials, they're lazy, they're entitled, they're this. We're here to really talk about these stereotypes, but you're obviously someone who is not one of those stereotypes. So what's your take on that? And
a few things, and we talked before the podcast started, everybody, and I'm going to say the same thing that I did behind the scenes. But first, I do travel a lot, and I participate in my industry and outside of my industry in conferences and conventions and education. So about a dozen times a year, I'm attending some sort of seminar educational around a subject that either has to do with my industry, live events or weddings, or just business. Entrepreneurship and business discipline and working for yourself and things like that. So in combination of those, it seems to be 10 to 12 a year that I'm in some conference around those subjects, leadership, whatever it may be. Everyone over the last few years that I go to, everything that I attend, always has a millennial segment, always has, how to deal with millennials, how to hire millennials, how to
cater to them, kind of market to them, and
everything that is the consistent thread in all of that education that I have sat through presentations that I had sat through, first of all, nothing bothers me more when the person, no offense, is 60 years old giving that presentation. I want to hear from a 22-year-old to give that presentation, but at any rate, the consistent thread that I see is it's a cultural thing. It's not a generation thing. Now, I get it. I understand that generation can control the culture to a certain extent, but I believe it's a whole cultural shift on how people think and how people wake up, and the way that the mind works with all of our distractions and everything that we have out there, from how we feel about how social media can make us feel versus a person making us feel. It's real life. Our relationships with social media, our relationships with technology, our relationships with devices versus our relationships with people change how we communicate, because it's all in a digital form versus face-to-face. And I always have pushed, whenever there's an issue or whenever there's a disconnect with another human being that works with me, or for the opposite, just communication in general, I've always forced to be like face to face, and I've always forced to be like outside of that digital communication as much as I possibly can. It's inevitable, and it helps us go at a faster speed. With that being said, there's nothing wrong with digital and technology, because that's helped me advance my company.
Right, of course.
I've used it to the advantage to move faster and work in real time and do things like that. But I definitely think this is more of a cultural thing, in my opinion, versus people saying, oh, millennials, what in the world.
I know.
It's a cultural thing.
People of all ages.
Yeah, it's all ages. I have, not necessarily at work for me, but I've worked with people on committees or just in life or whatever, where I feel like the 58-year-old is worse than the 26-year-old or whatever, and the traits that are being extracted in that middle-aged person is what millennials are being stereotyped for. Now, granted, there's more of us, and we're the ones that are in the heat and the fire of that point in time of life right now, or whatever. That's where it comes out. But I believe it's more cultural than an actual generation. Of where we sit. If you're going to choose to be lazy, you're going to choose to be lazy. And it doesn't matter if you're 10, 12, 24, 58,
But it's easy
64.
to blame, all the younger generations are always blamed. I've been doing a lot of research, and I mean, this goes back, hundreds, 1,000 years, of just the younger generation getting blamed for stuff. So so it's great that you're here.
Baby boomers like to blame
hustling. Let's just flip it, and let's do podcasts about the other.
If I share this on Facebook, I'm gonna get some feedback. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's funny looking around your office, and I'll definitely show some pictures here. But of all of the events that you have done recently, you've gotten more into the the corporate local events. You're getting behind some really big things that are going on, and making a huge impact on some of these local charities and things like that. So that's awesome. What just really where you've come from the weddings, and like you said, just at school. So kind of being behind the scenes and seeing all this, what are some things that people that are out in the world, social media, maybe hear your name, know of your company, but don't know things about you? What are some things that you...
I think the first and the blanket one, I can definitely share some fun things, but I think that blanket thing is obviously, I get a lot of compliments and feedback on the way that I've handled social media and the way that I've shared my journey. And I love it. Nothing means more to me than when I run into somebody at the grocery store that I haven't seen face to face in 10 or 15 years. And their comments to me are immediately like, wow, I followed your journey since you were 16 years old. I remember you getting yelled at by the principal from playing foul language at our dances and somehow still pulling it off. And now look what you're doing with your company and live events. And that whole transition, they followed the journey on social media. So clearly the way that I've chosen the path to follow social media, use social media, has definitely helped advance myself in my career and give a phenomenal image, which is the image that's wholeheartedly the truth. However, I don't share the WTF days. I don't share the tears, and I don't share the pain things. Obviously, I'm sharing the highlights. I'm not using social media to air my dirty laundry. This didn't happen. I didn't get lucky. It wasn't for free. It has costed me thousands of hours of pain. It's costed me thousands of hours of struggle and push and like fight.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is I fight for it. The difference is I fight with my team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fight against it, but still that I don't share that stuff. So it makes it look easy sometimes. People have said, you know, it makes it look like every day
it's
is
so fun.
joyful.
It's music. It's dancing.
I love what I'm doing, but I am managing 50 people.
Yeah.
I am managing 500 events a year
50
in central Pennsylvania. I'm managing expectations from couples that you literally get a second and a half to get it right, or you're done for on the internet, and you're done for. Like, and I'm very fortunate that obviously is not the case, but that's the type of pressure that's on, which leads to your comment. I was trained by people on their wedding day. I was trained to understand the discipline from a very young age as to what that first dance means.
Oh, yeah.
So now when I have the same gear that competitors have for corporate events, I go into a corporate event with that mind and that discipline on what that means. And comparatively speaking, corporate weddings lower budget, high expectation, corporate higher budget, lower expectation, because they're used to just renting tech gear.
Right.
And as long as the screen shows their PowerPoint, you know, yay. But now we're coming in with a different discipline to be like, well, actually the screen should display it this way and have this transition, and everybody's focused more, and there's a whole other outlook at it. But you know, social media and everybody outside, you know, obviously isn't going to see the pain like myself does, or feel it like myself does. Because why share that? No one's. I mean, some people I've removed from Facebook that felt like sharing their pain, but that's okay. I tend to want to stick to the highlights of the journey, but that doesn't mean that the pain's not there.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest things. We're always doing cool things behind the scenes, so trial and error, from services to concepts to the way that we push our marketing. You know, marketing is math. That's one thing that I've learned as a business owner. Math and time, math and money, and you're always trying to figure out that, you know, demand curve of the right things to do. So we're always, you know, being innovative here, having our strategy time. It is very hard and gets harder and harder whichever year and day that goes by, to earn people's trust with their event, especially with their wedding, as all the minutia online that's out there. It is very easy. The cost of entry to what I do for a living is very easy. The cost of follow through is very high. Let me break that down for you.
Because it doesn't
my name is whatever you want to call me, and I feel like being a DJ today. I go to Best Buy and I'm going to drop $150 on a mixer, and I'll rent speakers from this company, Klock Entertainment, when I book something. But I'm going to make a website for $5, and I'm going to open up an online account for a wedding industry profile, right? Or a DJ profile. I'm going to spam emails, fake reviews from the last several years. And wow, 2 days went by and I look like a professional DJ company. So that the cost of entry for what I do is very, very, very low. Right. To do it right, it's not. Right. So now you have your follow through, and that's where we've been able to have a remarkable consistency over almost 15 years in central Pennsylvania and beyond for some of the corporate work that we've done, that our follow through is consistent. You know, if you book us in July of 2012 and your wedding was in March of 2014, what you were told over the course of 14 months was consistent. What you were told, I don't know if that was the right math, but you get what I'm saying. When you book 16 months in advance or 12 months in advance, nothing changes. We're a brick and mortar building here with the same team, with people, you know, that are doing it.
Is the key.
And that's where you miss with your competitors and stuff like that. So those challenges that are behind the scenes is, I've chosen something that has a very low cost of entry from certain aspects. DJing being one of those categories in my company, that's an extremely low cost of entry and extremely easy perspective to, on the front end, make it look real and make it look glamorous and make it look like I can do this too. And you never know if that person's actually DJ'd a wedding before. You never know what it is, but like because of their website and the footage that they took from a company out of state, you know, all of a sudden you look like a real person. And I face that on the daily basis. And I know that other vendors in the event and wedding industry, photographers and things like that, cost of entry is really low. You buy a DSLR camera, you know, you're a photographer. And by no means, I need to make this very clear, if you didn't hang up on this or stop watching because I offended you. If you are doing all those things because you look to make it a side hustle with the right heart and the right sincerity, and you're going to have the proper delivery to your client, there's nothing wrong with starting what I just said that way. What I'm relating to is the people who look at it as an easy way to make a few $100 for beer money for the month, or don't go into it with the right heart or the right discipline for their clients of understanding what a wedding day means to somebody. It's not just playing music. Or what a live event means to somebody. It's not just renting a pair of speakers and getting a projector that throws a big image up in a ballroom. That's what I'm comparing. But those are challenges that I face in my industry from the industry that I chose every single day. And I know that that's actually a cultural issue, is the cost of entry for many businesses and many categories of industries is can be low because it's easy to build such a perception. I apologize not to knock it, but we all have a ton of Facebook friends who think that they're entrepreneurs and business owners because they've bought into a pyramid scheme or a franchise. I guarantee that the pain that I go through as an entrepreneur and a business owner, or Melissa goes through as an entrepreneur and a business owner, is way different than someone buying your product. And I'm going to be very disciplined because I don't want to offend anybody and not bring up what products they are. But it's very easy to be like, well, I run my own business. So, okay, well, tell me about your payroll. Tell me about your processes. Tell me about your structure. Tell me about your budget. Yeah, exactly. You're just a salesperson, you know, and you know, what have you. And those are the challenges that I face from understanding, you know, the discipline of what I go through, which is, you know, I'm sharing the highlights and stuff. Which is great, but what people don't know is you know, this is a real business and this is painful, especially when you're up top. I don't have a board to go to. I don't have like other employees to go to. I'm not a manager. I'm fortunate where I have a ton of friends in the industry. I have a ton of friends like Melissa who are entrepreneurs, and you can lean ideas and you can lean situations off of them and stuff like that. But this is all positive too. I get through it. I love it. You know, give me the challenge. I'm going to conquer it, and then you feel success because the success was earned in a real way. Right. So it's more fulfilled when you have these challenges. But yeah, that's some of the stuff on the back end that I don't believe that people think about or see. Because I'm going to share the highlights.
Definitely. Oh no, that's perfect. I mean, we all go through those.
Absolutely.
Those things, but you handle it well, and you know, keep it not dirty laundry. Like
so again, is it a millennial thing that they're doing those things from cost of entry? I don't think so. I think it's just a cultural thing that it's just easily accessible. And credibility and accountability is more of a cultural issue, in my opinion, than it is a millennial issue.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of facts that, you know, we are harder work. You know, there's so many facts about millennials too that people don't look at the positive ones out there. They just, a lot of the older generations, but yeah, I see a bunch of your conference things over here. I'll show you guys a picture. Jason's traveling a lot, and he's speaking. My question to you, locally in our area here in Harrisburg, what are some things that, you know, the younger, you know, whether it's 20s or 30s, obviously millennials, can get involved in that you're involved in, that can help with whether they're an entrepreneur, have their own business, or looking to just they have a drive that they want to move up in their company.
You don't have a lot of the things that I've talked about in this short time, and what I might reference. You don't have to be an owner and working for yourself to take anything I said into your life, into your day-to-day. It's more about taking ownership of you. And whether that is working for somebody or being a part of another organization that you believe in, that's the key. Believe in what you're doing. So, or if it is for what you want to do, or a new product or a new service or a new way of doing things in a certain industry, take it and embrace it too. But I'm glad you brought that up, because anybody who watches this, regardless of what they do for a living, whether they work for themselves or not, are going to have similar pains. Just sometimes when you're the one at the end of the stick, it stings more because it's all you. So things in the area that you can do. We have, I think, a lot of great programs, and some of my speaking engagements have put me around the right people to really be able to defend millennials. I spoke for Elizabethtown College a few months ago, and when I was there, I mean, they were millennials or that other generation that's even younger, where the stereotype tends to hit harder. And it was a room of 80 people who were like hungry to graduate in a few months and like get out there and hit the streets. And it was a majority of like business category students with a variety of different types of majors, and they could sign up for different entrepreneurs, I think, that come every Friday throughout the school year, which is so cool.
Yeah, that's a great program.
But there was 3 kids that then signed up to do lunch with me, and like they didn't just like hang out and talk about football. Like they were kids that were like vestedly interested in like how and what can I do, and you know, I always I took like that kind of hit me really hard, you know, that you can't get caught up on stereotypes, because there's just as much, if not more, of the opposite and the positive out there than there is, you know. Fortunately, negativity is just always a little louder. That's just how it is too. I'm trying to, I mean, there's just tons of nonprofits, there's tons of organizations, there's tons of community development programs that are out there. My contact information, I'm sure, will be listed with this podcast, videocast. So yell at me and ask me what you think. It's hard for me to give a general advice to that, because I would probably, depending on what you're looking to do, give you a bunch of different things. Because being Harrisburg, Central Pennsylvania, born, raised, lived here, you know, since I was, well, even my first few years of my life was in Edders. That's not far away from Harrisburg. That's just across the bridge. This is it for me. So I've tried every organization, I think, at this point, you know, at least going for a networking or a happy hour.
Like HYP, Harrisburg,
all that stuff.
West Shore, Hill Society now.
Leadership Harrisburg area, all the variable different chambers. There's all kinds of different things. There's, even if you're willing to travel outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and go into Philly or some of the bigger cities. I just did Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, which was definitely a travel on it.
You had just gotten accepted into that, I think.
Which is a scholarship thing that I did. So that's what I mean. I've still been big on education. That took me out of the city, but yet broadened my network out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but broadened my network of individuals and just amazing people. And of course, the education from there, which will only grow myself, my personal brand and my business brand from there. So there's a ton of stuff that's out there that's either here in our backyard or within travel distance, depending on what you're willing to invest.
Right. And mentors like Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. Our man Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
What up? You better watch this
shout out.
when he's back from his vacation. Now we just dated the video.
That's
at any rate, there's tons of stuff out there. You're welcome to mess with me, and I'll give you advice on what it is that's going to be best suited for you. There's also a lot of stuff that you can be doing that just doesn't cost money. There's I mean, we've got the internet, so the positive of technology is you can Google anything, and you know, there's a podcast for everything. I mean, I feel like,
just learning and hearing different perspectives. And
you got to be willing to learn, though.
You
got to be willing to learn. You can't show up to any of these events or any of these organizations and be like, oh, cool, I'm here, I'm going to be a better person.
Well, that was like
you got to be willing.
In my early 20s, I went to you know, the Harrisburg Chamber, and I was just starting out, even in my mid-20s, and I felt so intimidated because people were older, and I just didn't think that they took me seriously because I didn't have as much experience and portfolio. And fast forward, you know, years later, I had clients with big names under my belt and events, and oh, you did that. Oh, you did. And all of a sudden, it was probably a confidence thing.
I hope this comment comes across in the right way. Someone told it to me, and I've always said it and believed it and lived it, is if I am the oldest person in the room and I want to learn, I'm in the wrong room. I've always forced myself with well, now that might be changing because I'm trying to learn the younger generation, but in my 20s, in my early 20s, 20, 21, like I didn't want to go back and like hang out at a bar with people my own age if I'm trying to advance my career. I was going to these events that we're mentioning and being a part of these groups and seeking industry things and making sure that I was the youngest person in the room. I'm a part of a group called Think Tank, which is industry related, DJ industry related. You know, a couple of my friends might watch this that would know it, but for the most part, that's just kind of, you know, unfamiliar to a lot of people. But the origin of what I'm trying to say is I was the youngest member invited, I believe. Or I'm still the youngest standing member after 7 years. We got to do something about that. 6 years. 6 years. But at any rate, that's the type of stuff that I really pushed myself, and I had to earn. I had to be merited that. You weren't just going to be handed an opportunity to be a part of a closed group that shares best practices. I had to prove my worth, and I had to earn those statures. Same thing with some of the awards and some of the things that I've surrounded myself in and applied for at such a young age here in Central Pennsylvania. It's not a clique. It's not just given. You know,
Right.
I've had to earn it, and those again back to the things that you don't see out there, which
Right.
is what this podcast was supposed to be
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm glad because I think it gives a different light to what you do too
Mhm.
in the
Yep.
back. So
Yep.
a couple fun things people don't know about you.
A couple fun things that people
Favorite.
don't know. I share all the fun things on social media. I have 3 kids, and I absolutely love hanging out with them.
Mhm.
They're 3 of my little best friends. I love golfing, but that takes up a lot of time. So I don't do it more than maybe a dozen times a year at this point. And let's see, my hobby's DJing, you know, so I love growing the
good that you do it
business, and
all.
I love doing live and corporate events, but I still get myself out there to mix and DJ a few times a year, you
Yeah.
know, because that's an original passion of mine.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a hobby, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
If I choose to do a wedding on the weekend or whatever, that's still kind of a hobby to me. That's still kind of a, you know, a fun
Yeah.
thing that I'm
I
doing.
was asking Ben the other day about if somebody calls the people that want you to DJ their wedding.
Yeah.
Because you're probably hard to get, you know, to actually do. And he said, well, there's a different price or something. I don't know what he
It's
said.
slightly different price, but it's more of a calendar thing.
Right.
You just gotta call in time.
Right. 3
'Cause
years out, people.
Not 3 years out. I don't know
kidding.
where I'm gonna be at in 3 years.
I'm kidding.
2 years, year and a half out. I
Yeah.
get some bookings. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know any other way other than run my schedule at the mercy of clients.
Mhm.
I've done that for over a decade now.
Yeah.
You know, vacations, like
Oh,
events, like I schedule that stuff a year and a half in
You
advance
have to.
around, because you know that's when I'm gonna get paid.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes in my
Yeah.
business. I don't know any other way.
I know.
Not any
That's
other
the
way.
same thing.
But
for me.
no, I still DJ. That's probably a hobby. Yeah, my life. I mean, my kids are 6 and 3. To date this video, when we watch it 10 years from now, but
Yeah.
I am. You know, my free time really kind of goes to them.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
great.
wrapped up in that.
Should,
So we're doing fun stuff.
Good.
Summer's
I see all
over,
the
so
time
now I
you
got to
guys are
figure out
traveling
winter activities.
indoor.
But summer we're big Hershey Park fans, and
Yeah.
you know, living life through them, which
That's
is cool.
awesome.
Showing them what I got. My son Eli's into the DJing side of things, which is pretty cool.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, he's into it.
Follow you.
Yep.
Very cool. All right,
Yep.
good. So thanks for MillenniYelling with us today.
Yeah.
We'll see Jason soon, but we definitely wanted to see a little bit how he started. I think there's some really insightful things here that you know I think many of us should watch this over and over and take some notes here. So we'll have him back and we'll talk about some other things, like you said. I think
I'll be back.
there'll definitely be other topics, and I just want to point
Why are you
out
pointing
this.
at me in a picture?
This is awesome. I was taking pictures like this. I think it was
Yeah.
the
Oh,
perfect,
that's too funny.
the perfect backdrop right here. So
Nice. The Harrisburg sign. That's at the Midtown Cinema and Zero
Yeah.
Day Brewery. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
you guys
in
do some
Harrisburg.
really great photo shoots with your team. It just
Every year.
looks like really fun.
Yep, that's a big thing I like to do every year is an annual team photo. When Melissa was here setting up, I was starting to put our plans into our holiday party this year.
Yeah.
So we, you know, work events for a living, and I always try and give my staff like one night where there's no judgment if they would like to partake in an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, these are not allowed when they're
one
you know,
night where
all
the
the
event
time.
is planned for them, and they get to enjoy and experience, you know, through food, through activities. We do all kinds of stuff. We had a vinyl only DJ come last year, which
That's
was
awesome.
kind of cool for the guys to see who are younger
Yeah.
and might not have experience just doing vinyl spinning. A few years back, I had a mechanical bull, which got us in some trouble. But
That's fun.
you know, it's our night
see.
off. You know, this is a team of event professionals that are, you know, we obviously don't drink at events.
Right.
We typically don't eat the catering food or eat it at that time. You
Right.
know, where it's as fresh as the delivery. We're behind the scenes running, so I always try and give my team, you know, one night
That's
a year.
awesome.
And I've held true to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do a lot of cool stuff as the business side of things, from leadership and with our team development and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Constantly continuing education, constant training with the team. I'm really big on that type of stuff. Sorry, I trailed there.
That's
But,
okay. No,
Jason
it's fun.
Klock with a K, K-L-O-C-K.
K.
Not the gun, not
No.
Clark.
Clark. No,
yeah.
this is it seems like a really great place to work, and you've built something from the ground up.
And actually, 2018 we won Central Penn Business Journal's top 50 fastest growing companies.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
pretty cool. We were 48, and like I was like, I don't care. We were under 50, and
You're still in there.
I'll tell you what, that was such a cool feeling, because in that room, there's businesses that do millions and millions of dollars, like double-digit millions of dollars in revenue. And to walk, we don't do that. Just so you know, I'd love to get there. But to walk up and be 48 and get that award, number 48. I'm 32. Just make that clear. But number 48, top 50 fastest growing companies, was pretty cool. We've done a lot in the community.
He just got 40 under 40.
40 under 40.
Central
Yep,
Penn
32. That was exciting. Right. And Entrepreneur of the Year from the Catalyst from the Harrisburg Chamber last year. Earlier in that year, Action Coach USA, which is an awesome business coaching program that I had followed for a couple of years. I got an Entrepreneur of the Year finalist award from there out in San Diego, California, back in that February. Yep.
Very cool.
So again, all earned, all applied for, like all hustling, which you know, social media doesn't see that side.
Right.
So it's been 35 minutes. I don't.
We are gonna MillenniYell this, you know, to the next client here. They're you got to get back to work. So we will.
Gotta keep crushing it.
We'll see you. Instagram, social media, website, all Klock Entertainment.
Yeah,
they can follow you.
If you type it with a K, it's gonna show up. I think we even own the domain CLOCKentertainment.com. For typos.
Just in case.
I haven't gotten ClarkEntertainment.com though. Maybe I should.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, Klock with a K. You pop that up. Everything's gonna show up all over the place. Follow the journey. You're welcome to follow me personally at Jason Klock. Again, KLOCK. My personal branding and social media is all at Jason Klock.
Okay.
Every platform that I would be on and contribute to is at Jason Klock. Most of my efforts go towards Instagram and Facebook.
Great.
Yeah.
And they can get in touch with you. Anyone that had any questions on things that maybe you could
reach
give
out
advice.
To me. If I can give advice, I'll give it.
Yeah, that's great.
You just gotta ask for it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for MillenniYelling with us today. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
Bye.